Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to all of you, our agency partners. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to join us for the art of the pivot. And we're not talking about the basketball pivot, we're talking about another pivot. We are going to put science behind the art of the pivot and share some of the most important moves you can make to win business and get even closer to your customers in a virtual world. I am Yolande Heron, Small Business Underwriting Leader here at Westfield, and I am excited to be your host for today. Our time together today will be compact yet impactful. We know you're busy, so we've created an agenda that delivers exactly what you've asked for. How to succeed in a world that's suddenly more digital and virtual, and how to win with Westfield quickly and frequently. So here's what you can expect today. We'll share new data just into Westfield that reveals exactly what the best of the best agencies are doing to succeed. Even within the pandemic, some agencies are having their best year on record. Shannon Alborn leads agency distribution and compensation management here at Westfield. She is on the front lines with our agency's partners. She's been sifting through data to better understand why some agencies are thriving during the pandemic and others are not. She will share her observations on what is the major differences. Following Shannon, we will have breakout sessions to hear from leaders in Westfield small business and personal lines. And they will tell you what's new and exciting in their worlds. In the personal lines breakout session, we will talk about new product offerings to help your customers with their insurance needs. The small business leaders panel will share with you their thoughts on how to do business with Westfield through our people, processes, and technology. After the breakout sessions, we will return to the larger group where we will hear from our CEO, Ed Largent. Ed will answer questions he gets most often from agents, and he'll share the major trends the industry is watching now. Following Ed, we will hear from one of the top 3 speakers in the world on customer service, Chip Bell. Chip is credited with helping companies enhance their bottom line and market reputations through innovative, customer-centric strategies that solve the needs of today's fickle, picky, and vocal customers. It's going to be a great day, so get your pens and paper ready, because I am sure you will hear many things today that you will want to add to your professional toolkit. Now let's dive into the art of the pivot. First up is Westfield's Shannon Alborn with some of the science behind the art of the pivot.
Welcome. I'm looking forward to the opportunity to be with you virtually today. So I'm imagining that you're smiling and that you're genuinely interested in the information we'll share today. And this is a bit of a shift for me since I've spent my quarantine with my teenagers, and anytime I talk, this tends to be the view I see. So today, I'm hoping that this is what we're going for. So I'm happy to be joining you, and the timing couldn't be more perfect. So as many of you know, every other year, Westfield goes through our agency review. And this informs the selection of our top agency program partners. And one of the benefits, and it's a big one, not only for us, but for you, is we collect certain information from our agencies, including exactly what they're doing to succeed. So this time, unlike any other review period, there was a global pandemic to factor in. Initially, we had an assumption that agencies across the board might be struggling. And we did hear some of that. In fact, we heard some agencies say they're worried about survival. What we also uncovered was that some agencies are thriving like never before, like historical results never before. So it begged the question, what are these agencies doing differently to be experiencing 2 very different realities? So really the tale of 2 agencies. So we dug in deeper to get those answers, and today we're going to share those insights with you and show you how Westfield can help put you on the path to success. So let's dig right in. We noticed some trends with agencies that were doing really well, even in the midst of a pandemic. So I'm going to share the top 3 trends and give you some anecdotes from those agencies who are executing these trends really well. So trend number 1, agencies that made investments pandemic, especially in the areas of technology, marketing, and recruiting, are finding that those investments are giving them a leg up on their competitors. So they've been able to make a smoother transition to working remote, give their customers and policyholders the ability to work with them online, including purchasing policies online. They've kept their focus on recruiting top talent and been able to communicate with their customers, both via WebEx, webinars, digital communications, in order to help with concerns and keep them engaged. So what kind of stories are we hearing on this tale of two agencies? We have one agency who recently shared, growth in COVID does not exist. Personally, I think being down between 10 and 20% during this 12-month period is going to be a good goal. While other agencies who had invested prior to the pandemic, specifically in their online presence, are finding record-breaking results right now. One agency in particular shared with us in July that the pandemic is the best thing that ever happened to their business. They're up 57% in new business in the first 6 months of this year. So, two very different tales we're hearing. So trend number 2, having a proactive COVID plan is critical, but a plan alone is not enough. Executing your plan with resiliency is proving to be a key factor to make your agency stand out. So resiliency is the capacity to recover quickly. It's not about having a perfect plan, but planning and changing quickly when it's required to pivot to your next move. So agencies who have skillfully shifted focus by doing what needs to be done are thriving, not just surviving. And one such agency reached out to Westfield here recently because they believe they have such a successful recipe that they can replicate that they look to us for ideas on how they might go into a state expansion during a pandemic. Again, a very different tale. So for trend 3, as we move into what's next, some things are just the new normal now. So accepting these changes is a critical mindset shift so you can be successful. They include working from home. Many agencies may allow employees to continue to work from home, at least part of the time, after COVID. Continuing to increase their online presence and investments in technology, including the ability to allow customers to purchase policies online. And for the unforeseeable future, embracing change and setting up your agency to quickly pivot and adapt to change will be crucial for your future success. So keep focused and aggressive on building for the future. As we received information from our agencies, it was interesting to note that 89% of those who have a proactive COVID plan and are seeing a positive trend in results are currently recruiting for top talent, and their preparedness is making them a very attractive market. They're not looking to just sustain, they're looking to leap. So, we've discussed the top trends of successful agencies during the pandemic. Agencies with a proactive plan tend to be better positioned for success. Investments in technology, digital marketing, and recruiting can pay off during a pandemic. COVID will likely have lasting impacts on the way agencies operate, including online presence and working remotely. And all of this gives indication that there will be a potential large shift of business towards agencies that have adapted to these circumstances versus those who have struggled to change. So now I'm excited to share how Westfield looked at this information so we could step up as a strong partner for you. The first thing is a brand new marketing service called Workshop. It's a big differentiator. We know now more than ever, a strong brand, digital presence, and a strategic marketing plan are crucial to your success. So Westfield has assembled a team of experienced marketing and digital experts to partner with your agency to help find opportunities and shore up potential gaps in these areas. And guess what? There's no financial cost to you for this consultative service. We just need you to roll up your sleeves with our team, and we're going to dig in together. And while our team is ready to be there for your team, we also want to bring industry expertise to your virtual doorstep. So Westfield is partnering with Agency Revolution. the insurance industry's leading marketing automation solution, who enables agencies to grow their business by providing professionally designed websites, next-level marketing tools, and high-quality, relevant insurance content. So stay tuned, because there's more to follow on how this will be available to your agency. So as we continue to move forward, experts predict that more business will continue to move toward those agencies who are adapting and away from those who are struggling to change, causing the gap between successful and struggling agencies to widen even further. So take action now. You don't have to do everything at once to make successful changes. Pick one thing and begin. And remember, you're not alone. You're going to receive access to all the information and resources we discussed today, and we're here to help you and your agency along the way. So please don't hesitate to reach out. I thank you for spending time with me today. I hope you're still smiling, and I also hope you found useful information and new tools so we can come together for unprecedented success in unprecedented times.
Thank you, Shannon. That was very valuable information that you shared. I hope everyone was able to capture some ideas to reflect upon later. Up next, we will be heading to our breakout sessions with personal lines and small business. Outside of this video player on the left-hand side of the screen, you will see a button for the breakout sessions. Please click this button and click Join for personal lines or Join for small business. Once we wrap up the breakout sessions, we'll head right back here to the main stage for the rest of our time together. Simply click Main Stage on the left-hand side of your screen to go back into the main room. Thank you, and we'll see you shortly. trouble either logging in or were late to one of the personal lines or the small business session, please know that we will have this available online on demand, and we will provide a video link for you after that. I hope you had some great takeaways. For those of you that were able to attend, that you came away with some great takeaways from the conversations with the leaders in small business. Next up, we'll hear from our CEO and President, Ed Largent. Ed is going to speak to us. Ed is going to speak to us about what's going on in the industry and what we need to know now. Up next, our CEO, Ed Largent.
Hi, everyone. It's great to be with you, even if it is virtual. I hope you and your families and your teams are all faring well as we continue to persevere through this pandemic. It's definitely been a new experience for all of us. My wife, I think, has adjusted to me not traveling at all and being around the house way more than normal. Well, she's probably sort of adjusted. I have learned why my 4-year-old grandson calls our place Nana's house. What I've learned is it really is Nana's house. That's all I'll say about that. We really have been blessed that most of our children and our grandchildren are close by, and we've been able to connect through outdoor gatherings throughout the summer. It's just been very helpful for us. And I can tell you there's nothing like spending time with a 2-year-old to shift your perspective in a positive way about what's going on in the world right now. Now, as many of you know, we really enjoy hosting agent events on our campus in Westfield Center, and I'm confident that someday we'll get back to that. But in the meantime, we'll make the best of connecting in a virtual world. I want to start with the question that I get from agents all the time, and that's, how's Westfield doing? That's a complex question always, and I'm here to tell you, with the pandemic going on, that question just got more complicated than ever. But I'm happy to say that overall, the answer is we're doing well. I will say our premium writings are down, which is definitely not where we want to be. We're significantly behind plan through July. We're challenged in commercial lines, I'd say more so in the middle market segment, but small business isn't immune, and our personal line segment is also a little bit behind plan. Now, there's no doubt that the pandemic is part of that story, but it's not the whole story. So our teams are committed to working hard with you to retain customers and identify new business opportunities. They're focused on engaging with you to help drive the results that you want to see in your agencies, because that improves our growth prospects for the year as well. Now, our agribusiness team is having a great growth year. Thanks for your efforts to produce those results. And our surety team's also growing nicely, although we are beginning to see the impacts of construction slowdowns. Our combined ratio is just under 100. It's a 99.5. That's a really good improvement year over year, so we're happy with that. I will tell you, within that combined ratio is a really high level of catastrophe claims through 7 months, and the weather events in the Midwest look like they're just going to keep coming. The good news is our ex-cat and normalized loss ratios, they're where they need to be for most of our lines of business. We're really happy about that. Like the rest of the industry, though, we are continuing to work to improve the price adequacy of our commercial auto line of business. You know, the shutdowns due to the pandemic across the country did have a positive impact on our claims frequency for about 3 months, maybe a little longer. And we have seen frequency since then bounce back to levels we saw in the first quarter. But that whole dynamic definitely helped our accident year loss ratio. And that's why we provided our personal lines auto customers some relief through a discount for 3 months. Our balance sheet remains a tremendous position of strength, and that's despite the crazy financial market fluctuations we've seen since March. I've said many times in the last few months that Westfield and our industry, we're built for times like these. We've got to be okay when the rest of the world isn't, and we are. So we'll continue to be there for our customers today and tomorrow. Now, there's no doubt that times like these test organizations, and we know some will be really challenged and some might not make it, and then others will thrive. At Westfield, I think our strong culture really contributes to our resiliency. I'd even call it a competitive advantage. I think our culture inspires and motivates our team and helps shape the Westfield brand. You know, research has shown that a strong corporate culture actually helps companies achieve significantly higher effectiveness. And that comes through in things like increased productivity and employee engagement, financial performance, and customer satisfaction. I've seen firsthand during my 34-year career at Westfield how our strong culture boosts commitment and engagement, fosters collaboration, communication, and teamwork. That's why I consider our culture a competitive advantage. We also have a clear mission and vision. Our team knows where we're going, they know why, and they know how we're going to get there. And within that vision is our commitment to our customers, our agents, and each other. And that includes being a more inclusive and diverse team. And I think in times like these, you've got to have all those things: a strong culture, a clear vision, a commitment to customers, and diversity. Now let's pivot to the industry for a few minutes. There's a lot of important things going on in the industry, and I'll share just a few highlights of what I'm hearing and seeing. To start with, I'm sure you know there's been a lot of activity and conversation in legislatures and in courts related to business interruption coverage and the pandemic. There really hasn't been any significant legislation passed because ultimately it becomes obvious to everybody that our industry cannot cover a pandemic. In fact, the United States government is the only entity that can. Our industry would be bankrupted in less than a year if we were forced to cover those claims. We are seeing a lot of lawsuits filed, and we expect that the fight in the courts is going to play out over many years. And that means a lot of legal expense, and we know our customers ultimately pay for that. We do believe that workers' compensation and GL or other lines of businesses that either have been or we think will be targeted with pandemic-related claims. So our industry is going to really need to remain vigilant on those fronts so that we can continue to provide the support that we provide to our current and our future customers. You know, I think a trend that we're all experiencing is watching our customers being thrust further into the digital age. There's more receptivity and demand to interact via technology, and we're watching agents and carriers responding well. I actually think a positive effect of this experience will be pushing our industry forward faster in this regard. And the last thing I'd point out from an industry standpoint is a true hard market has emerged this year in commercial lines. COVID-19 really turned out to be the straw that broke that camel's back. The pandemic accelerated macro trends that were already underway. If we think back, pricing pressures from years of a soft market, increasing capacity pullbacks, rising loss costs, and that includes social inflation and historically low interest rates, all that was already turning pricing positive late last year. And now the industry is looking at a $40 to $80 billion impact from the pandemic and very likely a higher than average catastrophe year. All that results in the pace and the magnitude of pricing being accelerated, even though the industry remains very well capitalized. So there's no shortage of interesting and complex things going on in our worlds. Before I wrap up, I'd like to put the focus on you, because if we were having this meeting in person, I'd get the chance to turn the tables and ask you how you're doing. We'd spend some time talking about your agency's value proposition because customers need it and they value it, I think, now more than ever. I'd also have the chance to share some insights that we recently collected from agencies who we really think are among the best of the best. First, and this won't be a surprise, agencies with a proactive business continuity plan are doing better than those without one. It's not too late to plan either. We might be in this situation for a while, so you still have got the opportunity to formulate a plan today. Next, agencies investing in technology, digital marketing, and recruiting are seeing big payoffs. So think about how you can increase your online presence through social media, your agency's website, and think about investing in technology that enables your team's mobility. Finally, COVID-19 is likely going to have a lasting impact on how we all operate, including agencies, especially when it comes to remote work. We're seeing agencies think about enabling employees to continue to work remotely, at least partially, even after the pandemic. Some employees, not all, but some really appreciate the flexibility and feel they've got a better work-life balance, and that promotes retention, engagement, productivity, morale. All those things contribute to a strong culture. Now, to wrap up, I want to emphasize Westfield's here for you, just like we always have been. We're a relationship company. We always have been. We always will be. Have things changed? They have. The world's changing. It just keeps changing. So we have to change. And together, we believe change equals opportunity for all of us. Quite frankly, the world was changing way before the pandemic. As I said earlier, COVID-19 just accelerated some of those trends. What does remain the same at Westfield is our commitment to you, the independent agent. We're making investments in our business and in yours. Together, I know we're going to overcome challenges, and together we're going to find new opportunities. And at the center of everything we do together will be our customers, because that is why we're here, for our customers. Thanks for your time. I really hope you and your families are safe and well, and I hope to see you soon. Take care.
Ed, thank you so much for sharing your insights. It's always very good to hear your perspective, because we know that there are many things happening in the industry that we look for you to share with us. So thank you for doing that, Ed. So this morning I said to you that our day was going to be compact yet impactful. And here we are halfway through our day. And I really hope that you have received and heard a lot of information that you will think about and use going forward in the future. So as we move to the final part of our day, I'm going to introduce to you our guest speaker. We're ready to talk about Chip, Dr. Chip Bell. Chip is the founder of the Chip Bell Group and manages their office near Atlanta. Chip is the author of several best-selling books, including Customers as Partners, Managing Knock Your Socks Off Service, Magnetic Service, Sprinkles, and Take Their Breath Away. His newest book, Inside Your Customer's Imagination, will be released next month. Chip has appeared live on many major cable news outlets such as CNN and Fox Business. His work has been featured in many publications, including The Wall Street Journal, Forbes Inc., and Business Week. Chip has served as a consultant to many premier organizations such as Harley-Davidson, Southwest Airlines, and Ritz-Carlton's Hotels, to name a few. In the insurance arena, he has worked with many national carriers, and today he is here with Westfield to share his perspectives with you, our agency partners. Get those pens ready, and please join me in welcoming Dr. Chip Bell.
Hi, I'm Chip Bell, and I am so excited to be with you today. Thank you for giving me this special treat. I was with you 13 years ago, and I remember what a great company you are. Whether you're in small business or personal lines, I hope this is a session you find powerfully relevant, that you walk out here with a lot of new insights and a lot of new ideas and a lot of tools you can create that special, most profoundly remarkable experience for those you serve. Now, think about that phrase for a minute. Profoundly remarkable. It means creating an experience that touches your customers in such a way they can't wait to remark about it. So think about it for a moment. Think about loyalty. Think about loyalty. What does that mean? If we were thinking about our customers and loyal customers, you know, what would be the evidence? How would we know that customers are loyalty? What does it look like? Well, we know, obviously, customers buy from you again. They buy more. Sometimes they identify with you. You know, they wear that Bass Pro Shop hat, or they wear that Harley Davidson jacket. I got a friend of mine who wears a Harley Davidson jacket all the time. He even wears it to church. That ain't right. And sometimes we know they are loyal because they trust us. They give us a wider berth to make mistakes, which is really important, because as you grow and improve, you're going to make mistakes sometimes. And isn't it great to have a loyal customer base that'll give you that opportunity, that berth to make mistakes? But I think there's a pinnacle higher than that, and that is a customer who becomes your advocate. Whether it's ear to ear, face to face, or click to click, they can't wait to remark about you. Now, what I'm not talking about here is a recommendation. Yeah, I'd recommend Westfield Insurance. That's not what I'm talking about. There's a level even higher than that. And I think it comes with this. And I'm going to ask you to recall a positive service experience that was so profound, so impactful, that you couldn't wait to story it. You couldn't wait to tell somebody about you're not going to believe what happened to me. So if you recall that, what were the features of that experience? Now, we've been studying this to figure out what were the features that tend to make people want to tell stories about us. And we find they wind up in one of 5 areas. And those are the things we're going to talk about. The features that make experiences profoundly remarkable. They enchant, they enlist, they enlighten, they make it easy, and they're engraved. And you'll learn a little bit about what that means. Now, let's take a look at it about why this is important. Because we know today, customers, all customers, are highly stimulated and often entertained. And so that raises the expectations they have. Some research shows customer expectations go up about 30% a year because they don't just compare you to other insurance companies, obviously. They compare you to anybody creating great experiences that they enjoy. Let me give you a fun example. There was a large brokerage firm that decided to have fun with their phone system. You know, the one punch 3 if you want this, punch 2 if you want this. They decided to add punch 8 if you want to hear a duck quack. Guess what? Over 1 million people called every week just to hear the dang duck. It was jamming their system, costing them a fortune. They finally had to take it out. Now, what's the punchline? The punchline is customers today are bored. Apparently, for some of them, it doesn't take a whole lot to entertain them. But think about, what is that all about? What does that look like? What does that look like? Let me give you an example of what it looks like. My wife has a new car, loves this new car, traded in for her old car for a new car. And you know what? A week after she had her new car, she turned on the radio for the first time and discovered they had programmed in her radio stations from her trade-in. Now, what do you think she talks about? The car or the radio? Yeah, the radio. And Lord, I think what she paid for that car. Now, think about that. Think about that. Something that was totally unexpected, something was simple, and finally, something that was appropriate. What can you do to the experience of those you serve to make it, I can't wait to tell a story about it? You know, a lot of times I'll ask audiences, how many of you had your insurance agent send you a birthday card? You know, most people will raise their hand. And then I'll say, how many of you had your insurance agent call you on your birthday? I don't get a lot of hands. Let me tell you what my insurance agent did. He had his little girl call me and sing happy birthday. It was one of the most creative uses of child labor I think I've seen in a while. So what I'm saying is, what can I do to that special, unique, make it special to those I serve? Let me give you a fun example, but to make the point that it's not easy. It's not easy because it requires us to see new things, see it from a different perspective. Now, this is simple. Count every square you see. Count every square if you see. Now, right out of the blocks, you know, well, it's got to be more than 16, which I can see here on the screen. You know, if you went 1 square high, 1 square wide, there is 16. We see that. But what if you went 2 squares high, 2 squares wide? Now you got additional 9. Now I'll show you those. There's that one. There's the center of a 2 by 2. Okay, there's another one. You can see that one. And then there's all 9 of those. Well, if you can go 2 by 2, you ought to be able to go 3 by 3, right? So there's that one. There's 4 of those. There's the first one, 3 by 3. There's a second one, right? There's a third one. There's a fourth one. And obviously the whole thing, there's a 1, right? Now we're up to 30. A lot of people say, I know, I've seen this before. I know there's 30, but there's more. There's more. Now, the next one I'm going to show you, you're not going to like, because what I did is, this is a pattern, and your brain immediately goes and sees that pattern and stays right there. So you're not going to like this next one. So here we go. How about that one right there? Oh, you say, oh my goodness, no, no, no. But can you see more squares around you? Can you see more squares? See, once we get past the pattern, we're sort of off to the races and we can see other opportunities to create these profoundly remarkable experiences. I call them sprinkles. I reminded my granddaughters come see us, and we always like to make cookies or cupcakes, and they always decorate them with sprinkles. And one time my middle granddaughter said, Chippy, you know what makes a good cupcake great? Sprinkles. Well, it's the same with your customers' experiences. How can you add those sprinkles? How can we add the little different, unique things to make it memorable? So let's look at each one. Let's look at each of our 5 components, our 5 features, and let's start with enchant. Enchant. Now we think about something like Disney, like how do you make it kind of magical? Now remember, it needs to be unexpected and simple and appropriate. We're not talking about, red carpets and helicopters and champagne. The simple thing makes the biggest difference. Let me give you a fun example. I love Jack Daniels and I love barbecue. And my wife bought me this book, Jack Daniels Barbecue Cookbook. And I was sitting there looking through it and looking at all the recipes. And you're not going to believe what I came across. About halfway through, they had a recipe for roast possum. Now, you just don't know how hard it is to find a really good recipe for roast possum. And then I turned the page, and on the next page, they had a recipe for barbecued rabbit and even one for chicken fried beaver. Hot dang. Doesn't get any better than that. Now, let's think about that for a little bit. Somebody in Lynchburg said, hey, why don't we put something weird in this cookbook? And somebody like me said, hey, Nancy, come look what they put in this cookbook. And all of a sudden, you got a story. That's what I'm saying. It's thinking like that. Thinking about how do we create these unique experiences. One of my favorite examples of an organization that does enchantment all the time is the Hotel Monaco. The Hotel Monaco is a brand of hotels that's owned by the Intercontinental Hotels Group. It's a middle price hotel. So, it's like the Hyatt, the Hilton, the Sheraton, the Marriott, and their primary target market is the business traveler. 85% of their guests are business travelers. And they know people like me. At least before COVID, I was on the road 3 days a week, and I used to stay in a lot of hotels. And I'm going to tell you, after a while, the typical Sheraton, Hyatt, Hilton, Marriott all look alike. They're all good, but they all kind of look alike. They said, what can we do to make it different? How do we create a kind of a sprinkles experience for that? Well, let me give you some examples of what I'm talking about. Most hotels, middle price hotels, have turn down service, and what's on your pillow? Hot dang, you guessed it, a chocolate. You probably don't call home and say, guess what's on my pillow? Let me tell you, at the Hotel Monaco, you don't ever know what's going to be on your pillow. I've gotten a flower, a foreign coin, a yo-yo, a gazoo, a bag of popcorn, a lottery ticket. You can't wait to get back to turn down and see what they put on your pillow. How about this one? Most hotels, you open that closet door, and hanging in that closet door is a bathrobe. And what color is that bathrobe? You guessed it, boring white. Not at the Hotel Monaco, it's leopard or zebra print. How about this one? Most hotels have a policy that says no pets allowed. Not at the Hotel Monaco. You check in, they say, did you bring a pet? No. Would you like a pet? Wow, what'd you have in mind? Well, we can arrange to have a goldfish put in your room. Housekeepers will take care of it. All we ask is that you give it a name. Well, I named mine Trixie. There you see a picture of Trixie in her little goldfish bowl with pretty rocks and everything. Well, the next time I checked in to the Hotel Monaco, a different Hotel Monaco, I gave him my credit card and my driver's license. The desk clerk leaned over and says, you want Trixie to come up and spend the night with you again? Now think about how fun that'd be. Now you say, how do they know it's Trixie? Well, they're all guppies. They all look alike. But my point is they look for ways to say, let's make it unique and different. But I'm going to move to our next one and talk about enlist. That's all the ways we make that customer feel like a partner. We enlist their participation and their involvement. Betty Crocker had a little bit of a challenge. She came out with this great product called Bisquick. Just add water. You made great pancakes and great biscuits. It was a huge success. It was so successful, they said, why don't we try the same principle and make it cake mix instead? And so they came out with their first cake mix, white cake, and it bombed. They couldn't figure it out. So they talked to homemakers about why it was such a failure when the same principle, just add water. But what they found was the homemakers' pride in making pancakes and biscuits was not the same as their pride in making cakes. And so what they do, they took the powdered egg out of the cake mix and let the homemaker add a real egg, and the product took off. Just that act of participation, inclusion, looking for ways to help that customer feel included. You know, Starbucks has a lot of cool things when you go to Starbucks. And what we don't realize sometimes is these weren't created at corporate. Customers created them. Like splash ticks that you have in your coffee to keep it from splashing. Customers came up with that. Like pumpkin spice latte, like cake pops. Even Wi-Fi in all the stores was a customer idea. Look for ways to say, how do we include our customer? How do we make them feel like a partner? My wife and I were in San Antonio. She was there for a law clinic. She's an attorney, and I was there to drink whiskey and eat barbecue. And we stayed at a courtyard. And the second day we were there, she was off at her meeting. I came down to the front desk for something, I don't remember what. And I saw the most amazing thing. I watched the general manager put a flip chart in the lobby that had the following handwritten sign on it. Said, "Dear guest, the aunt of one of our housekeepers has passed away, and today is the funeral. This was an important person in this housekeeper's life. We thought it important that we all attend the funeral. Consequently, but there will be only one employee on the property. We ask your patience in serving yourself. Thank you, the management." What I saw after that was truly incredible. I watched guests serve guests. I saw one guest say, "Wow, serving another guest coffee in the coffee shop." I saw another guest say, "Hey, why don't I be the greeter like Walmart when people come in?" People were having a blast. Even the next day as we're checking out, people still talking about how fun it was when we ran the hotel. Sometimes the most wonderful words your customers can hear you say are the words, "I need your help." People will care if they share. Look for ways to include your customers. Sure, there are times in which it's inappropriate. Courtyard didn't put a guest behind the cash register. And clearly there are times customers don't want to be included. You go in for open heart surgery, probably inclusion's not on your list. But if we make it easy for that customer to be included, they feel like a partner and their loyalty goes up. But I'm on the move to our next one you ought to be really, really good at. And that is enlighten. Enlighten is something you ought to be really good at. And that is all the ways that we create learning for our customers, but it's also how we create learning for ourselves, creating a learning relationship. Let me give you an example. When Starbucks first came out, my business partner, John Patterson, thought it was the coolest thing in the world. He would get the small town size 3 times a day, and he got a lot of extra shots of something in there I didn't even want to know about it. And he said, "You got to go to Starbucks." At that point, I'd never been in Starbucks. You got to go, you got to go, you got to go. Finally, I said, "Okay, John, I'll go." Well, we walked in. He walked right up to that counter and started speaking Italian. I don't speak Italian. I speak Southern. And I looked, and all the signs are in Italian. I said, "Look, John, all I want is a small cup of black coffee." He said, "No, you want a tall?" I said, "No, I want a small." Then the woman came over and take my order. I said, "Look, ma'am, all I want is a small cup of black coffee." She said, "You've never been in here, have you?" I said, "Is it that obvious?" She said, "Well, it can be pretty intimidating," but she said, "Don't worry, I can give you this. And this is what it really looks like. This is a guide to Starbucks beverages." Well, I thought I'm going to take this thing home, and I'm not going to be embarrassed again. And so the first section here, learning the lingo. You want to speak Italian? They got 3 pages of this stuff right here. Then they got a section called "What's Your Drink?" Then here's one called "Your Espresso Choices." Here's a section called "Your Syrup Choices." Here's one called "Your Milk Choices." Here's one called "Your Other Choices." Here's one called "Fun with Frappy Choo Choo" or something like that. Then the one I was looking for, "How to Order." It's even got a little example here, a little worksheet on the back. I couldn't wait to go back to Starbucks. I walked right up to that counter and I said, like a mocha grande hoochie coochie. Now, I'm not talking about a little book. What I'm talking about is, how do you think like that? How do you think back a little book? How do we find ways to embed learning into our customers' experiences? How do I make that happen? And part of it is not just what you help them learn, it's what you help you learn too. You learn together. This is John Longstreet. John is currently the CEO of the Pennsylvania Restaurant and Hotel Association. But when I worked with John, he was a general manager of a large hotel in Dallas, the Harvey Hotel. And he realized he wasn't learning very much from the front desk person who always asked that question, how was your stay, when people were checking out? And you know what the answer is, right? Fine. You aren't learning very much. So he said, I'm not learning, despite their best efforts, I'm not learning very much about what's important to my customers. And so what did he do? Every quarter, he would hold focus groups with the taxi drivers who frequented his hotel, taking people back to DFW Airport. He'd buy them breakfast and pick their brain. What are our guests saying about our hotel? And you know what? He didn't just get information, he got insight. Let me give you some examples. He learned, for example, in those conversations, that when the guests complained about the fact that their towels smelled a little scorched, like they'd been in the dryer too long in housekeeping, what they really worried about was a fire, hotel fire, started in housekeeping. When they complained about the fact that the security lights are out in one of the security lights out in the parking lot, what they really were concerned about was security in my hallway. When they talked about dust bowls under their bed, what they really were concerned about is, are there bugs in my room? In other words, he learned great insight. He learned information, the kind of understanding that would cause him to see things in a different way and begin to make the kind of improvements, and he looked for ways to every week he'd hold a what's stupid around here meetings with all of his employees, trying to get them to say, what doesn't make any sense? Let's look for ways to how we fix it, how we improve it. It's all looking for ways. And we look for opportunities, but we also look for sources of that kind of information. Your scouts, the frontline people, the people in your office, they're all scouts. They're picking up with great information. My wife and I love to go to this old-fashioned diner, and with booths and everything, and on Saturday morning, get caught up on the week, and because I traveled all the time, and one time we went, and I had just got my physical, and my doctor read me the riot act about my cholesterol being too high. Said 650 was entirely too high. I told her I'd finally gotten up there with my SAT score. Well, a lot of you know breakfast and cholesterol don't go together too well. So when the woman came over to take her order, I said, I don't need to see a menu. I know what I want. What cold cereal do you have? She said, we don't have any cold cereal. I said, well, that's okay. I'll have a bowl of oatmeal. She said, we don't have oatmeal. We have grits. Somehow that didn't surprise me. So I had a big bowl of grits with a plot of real butter floating right in the middle of it. But when she brought the check, I said, I'm curious. Does anybody ever come in here and ask for cereal? Oh, yeah, she said, all the time. I said, how long you worked here? She said, 4 years. I said, tell me, has anybody ever asked you what guests are asking for? She said, I've never been asked that. And then her parting shot told me about that culture. Besides, she said, I'm not in charge of the menu. I wanted to say, you are. You're the only pipeline this organization has to your customers changing expectations. And we already know they change all the time. But I want to move to our next one and talk about ease. How do we make it comfortable for our customers? How do we make it easy for our customers? One of the things I like to ask people is, what are your office hours? What are your hours, your business hours? And then I ask them, what time's Amazon close? Now, I'm not saying you got to keep the insurance office open 24/7. What I am saying is customers today expect 24/7 access. So can I get a hold of you anytime? Think about that. I'm not talking about Westfield Insurance Corporate. I'm talking about you with the relationship with the customer. I don't want to talk to corporate. I want to talk to you. You're my agent. I want to talk to you. Let me give you an example. My wife and I have a little mountain home up in North Georgia. We go up there and we like to fly fish. It sits right on the Chattahoochee River. And one time Friday night we went and I turned on the water in the sink in the bathroom. And all of a sudden I noticed water coming under the cabinet. I thought, uh-oh, we got a leak. And I opened my cabinet doors, and sure enough, that little pipe, that little PVC pipe under there, P-trap, had a little leak at the bottom of it, and it was dripping water underneath. I thought, well, that's easy to replace. So I thought, Saturday morning, I'll go down to Ace Hardware nearby, and I'll get that part. So I thought, when do they open? When they open on Saturday morning? So I called expecting to get the answer machine, let me know the hours, and the owner answered. I said, you still open? He said, oh, no, we close at 6 o'clock. But I always call forward the phone to my cell phone in case somebody has a hardware emergency. Would you like me to meet you at the store? I said, no. In the morning is just fine. But I was blown away. There's 24 access, and that's what customers want today. You know, Ted Levitt, professor at Harvard Business School, said nobody ever bought a drill bit because that's what they really wanted. Nobody's ever said, I've always wanted a 1/4-inch drill bit. I'm going to frame it and hang it on the wall in my living room. What do they really want? Obviously, they want a 1/4-inch hole. And what they'd really like to do is snap their fingers and get that hole. It's the hole your customers want, and they had just as soon skip everything else. Let me give you an example. How you get it. How do you get that? You get in the truck or car and you go down to the hardware store and you find the drill section. You buy the drill. You go to the cash register. You deal with the clerk. Come home, find the drill, find the chuck just to get a hole. It's a hole. It's an outcome your customers want, and they had just as soon skip your process. My point is, do you ever have customers who would just ask you for the process? Think about that. I don't really need anything. Just came by to see maybe if you had some forms I could fill out. No, don't need anything. Just called up to see maybe you could put me on hold. Customers want to skip your process, but guess what they talk about? Obviously, they talk about the process, meaning I got to manage that experience. And the first thing I got to do when I manage that experience is to make sure the process makes sense. If I got a process, what you got to have? I stopped at a fast food restaurant not far from where I live. We call it Burger Queen, but you know who I'm talking about. And I got in the drive-in. I went up to the speaker thing. I told the individual I'd like a double Whopper, an order of fries, and a small Coke. He read the order back. I said, yeah, that's correct. However, I said, I'd like to get some barbecue sauce with my French fries. He said, no, the barbecue sauce comes with the chicken tenders. I said, well, that's okay. I'll be glad to buy some of that barbecue sauce. He said, no, the barbecue sauce is free. I said, terrific. I'll have some of my French fries. He said, no, the barbecue sauce comes with the chicken tenders. I said, aren't you the restaurant that promises have it your way? He said, that only applies to hamburgers. Tilt? See, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't lead me to want to bond with that organization. We got to make sure it makes sense to our customers. Looking for ways, and part of it is I want to keep in mind that I want to make those processes comfortable, meaning easy, meaning anxiety-free. Take the worry out of it. You're in the business of peace of mind. Make the process match that. This is Amy. Amy's on my team. Amy took her family to Hawaii. She got 2 teenage boys. They hadn't been there but 20 minutes. They looked down on the beach and saw people parasailing. They go, dang, let's go parasailing. I don't know if you've ever been parasailing, but nothing could be easier. Nothing could be more effortless. They just put you in harness you up in a seat. The boat hits that engine. It takes you up in the air and you got a pretty view. It's not like skydiving or hang gliding. Nothing could be more easy than parasailing. But if you take a look at Amy's face, it might be physically effortless, but it's certainly not without anxiety. We got to learn to take the anxiety of it. But I want to move to our last piece and talk about engrave. And that is, how do we make sure we build a sense of character, a sense of integrity, a sense of grounding, a sense of this is who we are and this is what we're about. It's not about what you do, it's who you are, and that's what shapes what you do. You know, this guy right here is a guy you all know. Farmer Jones runs the Chef's Garden, and if you aren't familiar with him, go on your website and listen to the story about it. It's a wonderful story because he's several generations that they have created vegetables and fruits for chefs. But the most important part about that video is how he lives and works on purpose, consistent with purpose. What is your purpose? What is your distinction? What is it sets you apart from everybody else? You know, when I was growing up, I grew up on a big farm, and my dad had a large herd of cows, and one of my chores was moving that herd of cows from one pasture to another after they grazed. Well, I learned if I was going to do that chore successfully, it required what I now call bifocal vision, meaning I had to keep one eye on those cows right in front of me, and one of those feisty steers would double back, and I'd lose a lot of time getting them back with the herd. But if I just paid attention to the cows right in front of me, I'd end up moving them in the wrong direction and completely missing the gate in the distance. What we're talking about is a distant gate. All of us got cows right in front of us, so to speak, those tasks we have to do every day. What's important is we never lose sight of the distant gate. What are we striving to be? You know, this is a guy that I want to talk about who did that. Walt Disney. 300 financial institutions turned him down when he tried to borrow money to build a theme park. Nobody had ever heard of a theme park. Oh, we knew about carnivals and circuses and county fairs, but a theme park was something totally different. Well, he finally was able to get the funding, and he wanted to build the Magic Kingdom. The Magic Kingdom. Now, all Magic Kingdoms have in the middle of them what? A castle. And he saw this beautiful castle in Bavaria. And so he wanted to build the Cinderella Castle. This is the Cinderella Castle in the middle of Disneyland. Now, the one Sleeping Beauty Castle is the one that's in the middle of Disney World. But this is the first theme park. And when they came up with a plan, all the smart people, engineers, construction said, you got to build it last. You got to build it last. It'll be a lot more efficient, a lot more cost effective. He said, no, I want to build it first. Because I want everybody associated with this to know this is who we are. We are about that castle. I want to make sure everybody never loses sight of our distant gate. I have two friends of mine that have a couple of children who've never been to Disney World. They're young and they went to Disney World and they were so excited. They couldn't wait till they get to the theme park. They hit the first souvenir store in the Orlando airport. One of them got a little 8-inch Mickey Mouse stuffed toy. One got a little 8-inch Donald Duck stuffed toy. They stayed at one of the Disney properties. First day they go to the theme park, have a great time, come back to their room and discover Mickey and Donald were in the living room watching the Disney Channel. When they came back at the end of the second day, Mickey and Donald were in the bathroom playing with a toothbrush and soap. Those kids couldn't wait to get back to the room at the end of the third day to see what Mickey and Donald were doing all day long. Well, they came home. We see them 2 weeks later at a block party. We said, what'd you think of Disney? It was wonderful, they said. Well, what'd you like most about it? You think they even mentioned Space Mountain? Those stuffed toys played all over our room all day while we were gone. It was magic, they said. See what they do? They promise magic. They deliver magic down to the last detail. But here was a punchline. But we hadn't been able to get them to do it since we've been home. And so we told Daddy we got to go back to Disney World so these toys can play. Think about it. It's not about the rides. They don't change the rides that often, but they make sure who they are and what they do is congruent. Look for ways to say, who is it that we want to be and how do we create that distinction and take it down to the tiniest little detail? So there you have the 5 secrets. Looking for ways to create a remarkable experience, one people can't wait to tell stories about. And I hope this has given you some new insights, but I want to close with a quote by the late Herb Kelleher, my friend, who was the CEO of Southwest Airlines, who said, the secret to a delightful customer experience is to treat every customer like today is their birthday. So go celebrate your customer's birthday. It's been an honor for me to be with you at Westfield. Have an awesome day and make it sparkly.
3, 2, 1, go.
Wow. Thank you, Chip, for sharing those great insights and actions we can all use to enhance the service we provide to our customers and make stronger connections. I am hearing some really good feedback from Chip's session. So again, Chip, thank you so much for sharing. I want to take a moment. Thank you. I want to take a moment to thank all of you for your patience during our live event. In case there's something you want to see or hear again, we will make the entire day available for you on demand. Lastly, I want to sincerely thank all of you for joining us today. I hope you found the time with us well spent and you are leaving with tools to help you continue to pivot in our ever-changing environment. Now, here's the good part. For those of you who wish to stay with us a little longer, we're going to have a Q&A with Chip. Simply stay in this room and submit your questions via chat to Chip on the right side of your screen, and we will get those questions answered. And I do have a few questions that I can start with that we were picking up. Chip, what's the best way to get honest customer feedback?
Get your kid to ask him the question. No. I just made that up. I think the key is they're willing to be honest with you if they see that you are working really hard to implement their ideas. Even if you can't always, let them know, you asked for it. Here's what we're trying to do with this, and they know that your interest in responding to their feedback sincere. They'll tell you a lot more. So I think the key is, we have these surveys. We all get too many surveys, and we usually don't answer the second one from an institution because we don't ever see any results that sort of have our fingerprints on it, or somebody else's fingerprints that resembles our issue, our concern, or our question. So that'd be a number one way I would start, is let them see what you're doing or what you're trying to do.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Another question. What is the one thing our agency can do right now to have the biggest impact with our customers? Personalization
Beyond what you might think I mean by personalization. And I'll give you an example. We messed up when we started this COVID-19 by calling it social distancing. That's a misnomer. We really mean physical distancing, don't we? And so look for ways to socially connect with your customer, even if you can't physically connect with your customer. And that means doing things for them that are highly personalized. I just mentioned about sending a birthday on their birthday, but what do you do when it's not their birthday? Do you reach out to them in other ways? When our customers only hear from us when it's time to renew, or when there's an issue, they sort of think there's an ulterior motive here that's self-serving. Now, we know it needs to be self-serving. Obviously, our bottom line is important, but they also want to make sure you have their interest at heart as well. So looking for ways to say, what can I do to make the customer feel like they're the only one you got? And might be sending them clipping because their son or daughter is heading to a particular college, and you send them a clipping about it. My insurance agent, Sean, delivered something to my house. And the next day he sent me an email saying, I saw you got beautiful flowers. My wife wanted me to ask you, what do you do to get such big flowers and all those butterflies in your yard? I mean, I felt like $1 million. Or how about this one? Every year we have that, you sit down with a review, you go through a review with your clients. Do you ever ask your clients, how would you like me to communicate with you for the coming year? We have many mediums to communicate. You can text, you can call, you can email, you can come by in person. We used to come by in person, but my point is, let the customer dictate how you'd like to communicate that fits what they want. And so, we've done this every year with my insurance agent, and we remarked the last time we did it about how it's changed over the last 10 years from, I used to say, just, email me or whatever. Now it's like, I want a text. I want it fast, So find out. That's what I mean by personalization beyond what we normally do by putting their name on a form letter or something like that.
Awesome. So I have another question.
Sure.
What is a good way to encourage our employees to practice and embrace the 4 E's?
Okay, good. I think one thing you could do is to give them a chance to go somewhere and experience it. And I'll give you an example. Now, you might have to brainstorm a little bit how you make this work. I got a friend of mine who runs a dry cleaner, and he hires somebody, and the first thing he does is said, I want you to take somebody to lunch at the Ritz-Carlton. We happen to have a Ritz-Carlton not far from where I live. So I want you to, on me, take them to the Ritz-Carlton, and I want you to pay attention to all the little things they do at the Ritz-Carlton that gives you world-class, over-the-top service, and come back, and when you start on your first day, I'm going to ask you, what are some things we can do to be more like the Ritz-Carlton or Chick-fil-A or whatever? Pick out a great exemplar of service and let your employees experience it. But more importantly, then come back and say, well, we could do a variation on the theme. We're not a hotel or we're not a restaurant or whatever, but we could do some similar things like that. And so I think giving them a model of what does it look like, and then saying, how do we get closer to that model? That might be a way to do it.
Awesome. Awesome. How can you motivate long-term employees to have enthusiasm about what they are, but about what they do?
Well, I think, as I mentioned in the last section, I think helping them believe that what you do, which is really true, is about an important cause. You know, we all work a lot harder when we are working in a purposeful, purpose-driven organization that has a sort of compelling reason. You know, obviously we're here for the bottom line. I'm here to get my salary, all of those kind of things. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, you know, looking for ways to say we are responding to a higher calling, something much more important, which you are. Peace of mind. I mean, you didn't get any more personal, more involved, more noble than giving people, particularly during this pandemic, a sense of peace of mind. And so I think it's having that happen every day, having and talk about it every day. You know, a lot of organizations have huddles. Now they're doing virtual huddles. But the first thing on the agenda, you know, Ritz-Carlton, I just mentioned then, you know, they have lineup every day, and they talk about who are we and what makes us unique and how do we practice it. And so every day they get reminded of the cause. You know, you go to church, you know, probably a preacher somewhere early in the service is going to remind you of why you're there. Well, you know, it's not a religious organization we're a part of, obviously, but the same thing of making it values-based, purpose-driven, causes people to say, when you engage their heart, then the rest of who they are tends to follow. So that's one of the things I do is focus on that sense of mission, purpose, distinction that makes me proud to go to work there.
Awesome. Tell us about the work you did for the Ritz-Carlton. They are known for their service.
Yes, absolutely. I had several projects I did with them. It was a lot of fun. They're a great organization. I've worked with 3 CEOs, starting with Horst Schulze and then Simon Cooper, now Hervé Hummler. And one fascinating program I work with, this would be particularly relevant, is they used to have a program, they've changed names, but it was called Mystique. And Mystique is a way to personalize it, your experience. And they hired me, my firm, to come help them look at how they manage highly customized experience in a way that didn't violate people's privacy in a sense of, you know, this feels a little weird. For example, Yolanda, if you ordered the fruit plate and you told them, leave the kiwi off, I don't like kiwi. And so then the next time you ordered a kiwi, ordered a fruit plate, you said, you know, I don't want kiwi on there. Well, the next time you wouldn't have to do that. You wouldn't have to say anything about that kiwi because they're going to deliver you a fruit plate and there's not going to be any kiwi, no matter which Ritz-Carlton you're in all over the world. Because somebody said, oh, 2 times in a row, she doesn't want kiwi. Let's make sure we put that in her Mystique profile. And so whenever they're preparing your fruit plate, it comes off the plate. And so they deliver it. Now, that's kind of magical. We go, wow, look at there. They remembered I like this sort of stuff. But we can see there's a sort of geeky, weird feeling at some point, and you start looking for where the camera's in the room, so to speak. And so my job with them was to help them figure out how they could create a great customized experience without giving the customer their perception of invading their privacy. You know, one of the fun things we learned is people's sense of what is private is different in different countries and different in regions of the United States, for example. You know, in the South where I live, people were much more open and willing for you to know more about them than in other parts of the regions of the country. So it's learning. That was one of the projects I did. It's fun, but it's all about how do we create that profoundly remarkable experience that people go, wow, you're not going to believe what they did. They remembered I didn't like kiwi and left it off the plate. I didn't even have to tell them.
That's awesome. That's awesome. From your experience in the insurance industry, what do customers want most from their insurance agent?
I think what they most want is an advocate. I think they want somebody to be a champion on their behalf. I think somebody, particularly, we buy insurance because we and hope we never need it, so to speak. But when it does, it's sort of like somebody pulls out all the stops on our behalf, and it's a lot like Amazon. Amazon's belief is they're the best service is no service, meaning what they mean by that, it is so easy, click, 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 and magic happens that you don't even think about it. But if it ever goes wrong and you didn't get what you wanted, now they want to be the best service recovery organization on the planet. And because you'll remember that. People don't expect you to be perfect, but they do expect you to care, especially when things go wrong. So what I mean by that is, I think more than anything, they look upon an insurance agent to be their advocate, their personal advocate, to really work hard on their behalf, particularly when things go wrong. The great stories they tell are all about heroics when things are going wrong or there's a mistake or whatever. So I think that's the thing they look for most.
Okay, I think we have time for maybe one or two more questions.
Okay.
How do you balance showcasing your brand and providing good customer service? How do you marry the two?
How do you marry showcasing your brand with what?
With providing good customer service.
I think they're the same, aren't they? Think about that. Let me give you a fun example of that. I mean, I think your brand is the experience. And brands are all about what sets you apart. Brands are all about what the customer sees you as being distinctive. I mean, there are features about Westfield that every insurance company in their industry does. I mean, they're the same. Policies look the same. Features just the same. In many cases, the fees are all the same. So what sets us apart? What is our brand? Our brand is the experience you create and the relationships you build. And so I think that is who you are. That is your brand. And particularly, and I keep harping on this, if you can make it impactful, powerful, and make the customer feel like Westfield is my company, my company. Now, think about this. This is kind of a fun way to go. The word brand. Now, where did you first hear the word brand? Growing up, when you were a little girl, where did you first hear the word brand? It probably didn't have anything to do with marketing or business. It had to do with cows, right? Right? I mean, is that not true? And so and how it all got started is we used to have cows all grazing the same open range. It's before we had barbed wire and all that keep them in a certain section. And so farmers or ranchers had to use that hot tattoo to be able to put some symbol on the side of that cow. So when it came time to go to market, they could go out there and identify their cows. But the key thing to remember, like the golden arches, I can spot. I don't have to see a sign, this is McDonald's. Mm-hmm. I see that symbol and I know those golden arches mean one thing. That green and white symbol of the nautical symbol, from Moby Dick, I know is Starbucks. I don't have to have the word. So we can identify. But the thing we often forget, it's not just a cow I can identify. It's my cow. I own this cow. And so what do we do to help our customers feel like this is my Starbucks? This is my Westfield. It's not just Westfield, an insurance company I use. It's my Westfield. And so I think when I think about branding, it's what do you do to create that experience of ownership on behalf of your customer? So they feel that, to me, that's what it's all about. So next time you think about branding, think about ownership, not just identification. What do we do to make our customers feel like it's yours, it's mine? So that'd be my recommendation. It's all about the experience you create.
Awesome. Well, Chip, I want to thank you personally for taking the time to answer questions and spend time with us today. I certainly appreciate it. And I know that our agency partners appreciate it as well. So I am sure there are many takeaways that people have taken away today that they can now incorporate to become one of the best agencies that are surviving during the pandemic. So again, Chip, thank you for your time. We certainly appreciate it. Now with that, again, for those of you that did stay behind for the Q&A with Chip, again, I want to thank you for your time. Again, as I said in the beginning, our day together was going to be compact yet impactful. I really hope that you are able to take away some things that you can incorporate immediately following this meeting and in the weeks to come. So again, thank you for your time. We really appreciate it. And please continue to do business with Westfield.